there's structural issues, there's design issues, stuff that involves a little bit more digging into and ongoing supervision to make sure it gets repaired and fixed properly. Honestly, I'd probably still be comfortable taking on 5, but it's understood that there's going to be more work involved on something like that versus going in and just changing out finishes.
Okay.
Something like that, I feel like I could take on more than 5.
So let me put it to you this way for perspective, because I've been a general contractor for 20 years now, especially in the Illinois and the Chicago market, which is Illinois, and then obviously Florida. Florida is our second market. We opened up in 2009. So being in the trenches for over a decade before we went into what we're doing now, we're pretty well versed with a lot of the challenges, right, of why I'm asking these questions.
Yep.
Obviously, you feel a good capacity of managing and running 5 is good. I actually agree with that number. I like that number. 5 is good. It's comfortable. Are you comfortable with running dynamic schedules and Gantt charting to help you with progress walks, being able to monitor draws and progress the right way? Are you familiar with all of that?
Absolutely. I've done all that. I'm very extensively knowledgeable in Microsoft Project.
Okay.
I can adapt to other scheduling software pretty easy. I've gone as far as resource loading, cost loading schedules, that sort of stuff. So from a management side of view, I've used those scheduling softwares probably more than most people typically would. Usually they build their schedule, build their hierarchies, and move on from there. And I've gone as far as, cost loading, so I can see draw schedules and stuff like that, as well as resource loading, where I can tell when crews will be available and how that impacts not just that particular project schedule, but link it to other projects to see, where there's cross-referencing and stuff like that could come into play.
Okay. No, I love all that. I agree with all of that. The biggest concern I see in this industry as a whole is production, like pre-production, actually setting up the job. Everybody wants to go into demo day 1 and they're ill-prepared. And then they go into construction, they go into phase 2 and project management, and they're project managing fires that they could have prevented. So, change orders that could have been seen, design issues that should have been overlooked, architectural plans that should have been reviewed 4 times. There is a lot of diligence that goes into these projects, as you know, right? And
Absolutely.
In this business, this niche of rehabbing, like I said, is very unique from your experience, which your experience is a tremendous value to what we do. It's almost like we got to dumb you down, actually, and say, listen, we're going to dumb you down, take all that experience, but we're going to dumb you down because I don't want to use the word babysit, but a lot of these subs that we're going to be using, right, that you'd be babysitting, or the sub inventory, which is one of our KPIs, right, that we're going to be continuously filling the roster over and over again because these guys are fringe, right? They live paycheck to paycheck. They got drug issues. They got drinking issues, a million things, right? That's what you've got to deal with. That's why your sub inventory has got to be so tight. And it's almost like a daily thing. You've got to fill your roster with at least 3 electricians and 4 plumbers and a couple drywallers, because you just never know, right? So, with that in mind, one of the things that I think is key and paramount to success is the pre-production and risk analysis after we take down a property. It is preparing all of our contracts the correct way and making sure our budgets are on point and making sure our Gantt charting and everything's scheduled as best as possible. And we all know, right? You and I speak the same language. We all know that budgets are moving targets and source schedules. We all know that. That's why we have projections. But again, with the projection aspect of everything, our key component, right, to our success is making sure we've tried to cover every base possible. And that's something we want you to run with. We would expect you to say, hey, we got a conveyor belt system. We got a property. We got a new one that's under contract. We close in 30 days. Pre-production kicks off immediately. You start your risk analysis.
Absolutely.
We're looking at what's going on. We're working on budgets. You're walking the property. You're doing what you need to do to prepare to manage it, right? Because if you don't, you're living in hell when we start demoing. And it begins from there. It's just an avalanche, right?
Just compounds at that point. If you don't have a plan in place, then you're fighting it the entire time through the project. If you have a plan and it doesn't go to plan, you can adjust.
100%. And this is why when I asked, what's your capacity? That's why I'm saying what I'm saying, because if you said you can manage 5, I like that number. That means let's do those 5 correctly. And then we'll monitor and see how that goes. Can you effectively manage those 5? We'll give you 5 more. We'll give you 2 more. We'll give you 3 more. We'll grow with you, right? Because we're all helping each other grow in this position, right? The more you can manage effectively to get us our end result and put this thing back on the market, the more properties we can take down, the more your incentives and your money goes up. We don't have to hire other project managers, which isn't a bad thing. I don't care if we have 10 project managers because we're doing 1,000 properties.
The volume.
That's logical. Yep. But we want to base it on volume, and we know right here, right now, we are growing faster than we can handle, and that's why we're talking to you. And we're gonna, Noah and I are very transparent. We just interviewed a guy from Northern New Jersey just before you. Completely night and day conversation. Completely night and day. Would you agree, Noah?
Yeah.
Complete different personalities, right? And it's a good thing. It's a refreshing thing. However, at the end of the day, what we're looking to do is find the right team. I don't care if you're an alpha, a sigma, a delta. I don't care. I'm looking for a guy that knows that he can get the leadership of the guys on the field, has the confidence and competence to get it done, and use his leverage, which is your experience, to just lead, right? You don't have to be an expert in everything. Just be an expert in leadership, and you will see everything fall together. And that's what we're looking for as the next leader.
Gotcha.
Would you agree, Noah?
Yeah, 100%. I think it was very well said.
I've done this once or twice.
Yeah.
I've done it once or twice. But that's really essentially what we're looking for, man, is a team player that we can vibe with and have good conversations. I mean, the open dialogue is what's going to get these things done. We expect to have our Monday morning construction meetings, and then that's it. We're not here to say, where are you at? What are you doing? We talk about what we need, what you need, where we're at, what's closing out, what's not closing out, what's ready for punch, what's not, what materials are issues, blah, 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 blah. Talk about that on Monday. You go do your thing. Anything you want to talk about, Noah?
I don't think so. Not on the forefront of my mind.